everybody. We're here today with Grace Rittenhouse, recent high school graduate, young adult. Gracie, this is Karuna.
Hello, Karuna.
Hey, Gracie, nice to meet you.
Well, Denise kind of filled me in on what we were going to be talking about, and I guess the main point was uncertainty. That word, I don't use it very often. I don't.
What's the word? What's the word you? What word would you use, or what would concern you these days? You know, if you want to just have a conversation about something that's provoking you these days, what would it be?
Well, provoking. See, me personally, I'm not in a situation where I feel provoked or nervous about what's going to happen in the future. I have a really stable family. I have a roof over my head. I have some money saved up, and I mean, I live at home, so I don't have like major bills to pay.
Right.
I basically just worry for the people who can't do that. And
yeah, me too.
A lot of them are my friends, and so it's like, I see people struggling, posting like, I can't even buy food, and like, it's crazy. I mean, a lot of my friends have several kids too, and they're like, and also here in Hawaii right now, the unemployment, like nobody's getting money.
Right. Oh yeah.
So
wow. So, you know, I think those are hard problems. I sometimes I divide problems into two categories. One is the category of just basic living needs like safety and shelter and food. You know, we have a saying that if you meet a beggar on the road, don't teach him philosophy, give him some food.
Yeah, right.
So we've been talking in this series a little more about philosophy of life, and not so much about the practical challenges like how do I get an unemployment check, or how do I get some support, or how do I get some resources, how do I find a meal. So it's tricky when you mention about your friends and hearing different kinds of conversations, because maybe in your mind, maybe you know, in our minds we have to sort of divide which area of problem that they're talking about, right? Most of the problems that we're coming across, a lot of them seem to be emotional. Fear.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to get paid. I'm losing my paycheck. I'm not going to have any money this month. And it's really about, well, what's the problem, right? So is the problem really that you're not going to have food, or is the problem that you're afraid, right?
Yeah.
For the person, right?
Yeah. It's more of like an emotional, like I'm scared for you and I want to help you, but it's hard. Especially being able to like go give your friend a hug. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, it's the emotional part that makes it hard, definitely.
Yeah. And there's an interesting thing that happens. One of the trends in psychology that I'm not a big fan of, right, you know, these days, is that it is good, you know, this idea of empathetic listening. You're like, oh, that must be really hard. That's helpful, but at the same time, it's not always helpful, because sometimes people, what we're empathizing with is more of a exaggeration in their minds that doesn't exist. You know, a fear that's not really, you know, other than being a fear or an emotion within the mind, it's not really based in much reality, right? And that is where the distinguishing thing about empathy on that level is tricky, because we don't want to a lot of times it's reinforcing the idea, oh yeah, that must be really hard that you're not going to be able to see your friends for a month. You know, I don't know if that's the empathy. I mean, that's okay to do once. You know? But what's the real help there, right?
Yeah.
Right. The real help would be for them not to be so dependent and concerned about not seeing your friends for a month or 2 months. You know, if you go overseas on a trip, you don't see your friends for 2 months, or you go study abroad, you don't see. So it's a mentally generated problem.
Totally.
Don't you think so?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah. So what do you do then? So then if you can, empathy is good. You know, don't ever want to say, oh, you're just tripping on your own head, but you know, I mean, that usually doesn't help unless it's a really good friend. But at the same time, I don't think it's useful to coddle, you know, and indulge people, because that generates that habit more and more and more that they can't cope.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand that totally.
So what do you think would be the way to do that?
Can you rephrase that question one more time for me so I can have?
Well, if we're concerned about being kind
Mhm,
and sensitive,
mhm.
but not wanting to reinforce sort of a overly emotional investment in not getting what a person wants.
Mhm.
What can we do? Oh, let me give you an example. So someone's not seen their friends for a while, right?
Yeah.
So really the problem, I'll tell you what I think the problem is. The problem is you're just not getting what you want, what
Mhm.
you're used to, and what you expect.
Mhm.
So what can we do for that person, do you think? Can we tell them that?
You could, but that's not really gonna help.
Yeah. And what could we
Been trying to give my friends ideas on what they can do around their house, just
uh-huh.
like give them an uplifting feeling, like whether it's cleaning out that corner of the room that you never wanted to touch, or
Mm-hmm.
cleaning out the garden, or I mean
Mm-hmm.
we've been doing so much stuff around here and it's kept me so busy. I mean, and I can FaceTime my friends and say hi, but like that's all you really need. It's like if you have things around there that can make around your household that can keep you entertained, and like we don't even have a TV, so I've been having to find every
Oh.
thing to entertain me, and so I've been trying to teach my friends how to do that, and they're kind of following along. But
Uh-huh.
at the same time, it is kind of hard because actually a lot of my friends they're not really following the whole gig. They're still having a good time. They're still doing stuff, and I'm like, okay, guys, like stay home, please.
Is Hawaii on a stay-at-home
Yes,
mandate?
yes.
Oh,
Very-
good.
And they're handing out citations left and right. And
Oh, good.
yeah, no, I think it's good. It needs to be enforced. But you
So,
surf, but you
so,
can't go to the beach.
so what couple things that seem to be coming up, I mentioned in a few talks. This is more like just you and I talking. I don't know what we do with the people who are suffering and struggling with this, but it's a lot about based upon, and you're sort of intimating this, that it's what we put value in.
Hmm.
So if we put value in surfing,
Hmm.
and that's where I get my happiness,
Hmm.
and you can't go surfing, what happens to you?
You get all like, oh, like just,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like a lot of people, that's their therapy. Like the
that's right.
ocean is people's
That's
therapy.
right. It used to be mine, and it's like it's not a valid therapy.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying I don't know what we do with this. I'm not suggesting we go out and tell everyone. But if there's an opening, it's time to tell people, well, maybe you need to reflect on what it is that you get your mental well-being from.
Hmm.
And our mental well-being should be something that we carry around with us all the time, right? Even
Yeah.
if you're on an Indian train, this would be amazing. We go on these, I lived in Asia for many, many years and lived in Nepal for over 12 years.
Mhm.
And sometimes we go to India and we'd ride these trains for like a day or two. And these Indians would have their, 3-year-old child there
Mhm.
and no toys and no books.
Wow.
And they would just sit there and they might have a little ball or some kind of string or something. And the kids, I mean, I'm not saying that we should be that, but the point is that the children were not dependent on their well-being through being distracted,
Yeah.
entertained,
Hmm.
or through enjoyment. I mean, surfing and being in the ocean is like, it's blissful. You know what I mean? So it's easily addictive. But the problem is that it's a wrong idea of reliance.
Hmm.
It's not what we should be relying on for our happiness. And you know what? So my friends around here, you can look at the people who rely on those external things to the max
Hmm.
are the ones that are suffering the most.
Yeah.
And the ones that are kind of like there's a number of us are saying, well, this is a good time. It's nice to be, a little quiet and withdrawn, introverted time. And now, again, I want to separate that from the people who have no money and no food. That's a different story. Then we have to help them. One thing that I think is probably one of the most important, not the most, probably one of the two most important things to begin to reflect on is the people who are struggling more.
Hmm.
Let me put this: people who are struggling less seem to have this natural instinct to be concerned about other people's welfare as well, like what other people are going through. So that idea of compassion, yeah, that idea of compassion, right?
Exactly.
The more we worry about our situation, whether we don't have a job or don't have a job, whether we see our friends or don't see our friends, you know, that's only a problem to the degree of I, my, isn't it?
Exactly.
I miss my friends. This is, you know, I'm imprisoned. I'm not enjoying my life. I'm not able to engage. So of course we can take measures to help them engage and do all those things on Zoom and chatting. But the fundamental, if we go to the deeper, where's the real problem? I need you to help make me happy, or I need to surf to make me happy. I need to go play golf to make me happy. I need to earn money to make me happy. You know, for people who aren't earning income, they're not earning income either way.
Yeah.
So now, if you're not earning income, is there a choice whether you're mentally your well-being is okay or not? Of course, it's a choice. Some people say, "Of course, I'm suffering. I'm not making any salary." The two are, yeah, for most people those two are synonymous, but that's where we're struggling. That's where we're in a mess. Making your salary, we need our money, but the suffering around it is different. That's our emotional relationship with our sense of purpose. Most people's sense of purpose, and it's not their fault, is career, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, prosperity and achievement, like that. So anyway, I probably talked too much. What do you think?
I think that that's all very, very true. And it's definitely something that people need to think about more. It's just a very good perspective, a way to look at things, changing the mindset.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and so what just one last thing you remind me of. So things don't change because we want them to.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people might have these ideas or have this understanding. You know what's missing? Training. Practice. So how do you train the mind? So if one might be wake up and say, oh my God, of course my values are like that, and I've been distracted for 10 years. You know, I haven't really pulled myself in. I know those things are right. I haven't been doing them. So what do I do? Well, what you do is start doing them. And the best way to retrain the mind, or to train the mind in those values or those beliefs, is every time the problem comes up, you remind yourself to shift your belief. You get hooked by the old belief, but you know what the good one is, and then you say, okay, I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go of that way of thinking. I'm going to think of others, or I'm going to, whatever it is that's the opposite. That's a true value, right? That's how you don't practice true values when you're feeling good and everything's going right. You know, you can't practice patience when you're sitting on the beach or in your backyard or in your hot tub. You know, that's not when you practice. Like, oh, I'm so chill, you know, I'm patient. You know, that's not practicing patience. Practicing patience is when you got to go into the supermarket and you got to stay 6 feet from people, and everyone is wearing the mask and you forgot yours, and someone cuts in front of you because they think that's the right line. And then someone else is, you know, coughing without, you know, covering their mouth, and, you know, oh, you got to wait outside the supermarket before you go in. And patience is there's no toilet paper. That's when you practice patience. Not, I've got my toilet paper, so yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah.
That's not patience. I mean, it's really not. Okay, we could go on and on and on and on and on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gracie, for being with us. We appreciate your input, and we appreciate how you're caring for the other people in your life during this.